So, what I primarily want to focus on is a little bit about the conversation you had in the panel yesterday, talking to the solution providers. But before before we get started at that, why don't you just tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Joe Jasmon. I'm the CEO of Shepherd Senior Living.
Okay.
We do assisted living and memory care communities, kind of separate communities on the same campus.
Okay.
Our focus is really personalizing the experience for the resident and really adding technology to make that work to their benefit, not so much from a efficiency standpoint, but making that experience for them the best that it can be.
Okay.
And really identifying kind of 5 key areas that they can't live without and making sure we make those happen.
So 5 areas for each resident.
Exactly.
It's going to be different for every resident.
Correct.
And where are your communities located?
We're in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, and Texas right
Okay, and
now.
how big is the organization?
We're at 6 right now, and we'll be growing to 8 more next year, and then 8 more the year after.
Wow.
So,
all new
pretty
construction?
aggressive.
Or
All new construction.
acquisition?
We have an acquisition strategy, and we're looking at picking up a couple communities each year in that strategy.
Okay.
But primarily, we're focused on ground up.
Terrific. So you've obviously been here as a delegate to the Marcus Evans Summits a number of times, right?
Yeah, 4.
4 times, okay. And so if you talk to me a little bit about your experience in working with the solution providers and first off, I guess the first question to ask is, because it's sort of what everybody wants to know, is it like this horrible burden that you have to do, or do you actually find value in doing it?
I actually find value in doing it. What it allows me to do is to meet with 15, 20 solution providers in a 2-day period of time that I would never be able to do in a normal work week or 2 week, or it'd be more like a month or so that would take me to do that.
Okay.
I can isolate in on those that I'm interested in, and then I always try to pick up 1 or 2 that I have no idea what they do, because they might bring something to me that I'm like, oh, aha,
Yeah,
I had an aha
yeah.
moment yesterday with a solution provider that I didn't even know that solution existed. I'll probably use that down the road when we're ready for that. That type of a setting is perfect for me, because time's limited, time is money. We are trying to do 400 things at once, and this allows me to focus for 2 days on those needs and then get on with it.
Okay.
And then they're great with follow-up as long as they follow the rules we ask them to.
So have you done business as a result of Marcus Evans?
Yeah, I've used 4 solution providers so far.
Oh, terrific.
And probably will use 5 more based on this conference when we're
5
ready
more.
for them.
Oh man, that is terrific.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the rules you set up. Can you talk to me about what that looks like?
Yeah, the most important thing for us working with solution providers is that, number one, we build a relationship.
Okay.
So that we can have a conversation that's not always just about the sale. Most of the time, I'm looking for a solution that's a little bit of a hybrid of what they might have off the shelf. And I want to meet someone that's willing to partner with us to solve that problem rather than just sell me an off-the-shelf product. I also want to work with them on the long term. I don't want to consistently change solution providers, every year. I want to work with them, and I want to stay with them for the long haul.
Okay.
Consistency is important, and working with great people is important. That's why the relationship part is the key. Generally, in a follow-up, you've got folks that are just sending you emails like mad and rapidly firing phone calls, and instead of us sitting down and having a scheduled meeting where we're focused and the time is focused on addressing that issue. If you send me a bunch of emails, I'm probably not going to get to them, and at some point in time, I'm just going to delete them.
Gotcha.
But if we
Gotcha.
say, hey, let's set up a time and let's focus our time and talk about it or meet,
Okay.
it's a whole different discussion at that point.
Right.
Because I have the time to focus. Hopefully they've come prepared to focus, and we can solve a problem or take it to the next step. I'm never going to be able to do that over email or via quick phone call or something like that. It just doesn't work for me.
Okay, so I want to actually take sort of an alternative look at this for just a second. So let's assume I'm a vendor and I look at Marcus Evans and say, I don't know, that's a lot of money. And so I'm going to just try to get to you otherwise. How do I can I get to you?
I mean, you can call me. You
Right.
can email me.
Right.
If I don't know you and you don't have a compelling name or title or something that has prompted my interest, I may or may not look at it or return the call.
Okay.
Depending on what's a priority for me in that particular time of the day.
Sure. So it's really a hit and miss, and so if I really want to get to you, I look at you as an organization where I think I've got a solution, and being in some place like this really is the right way.
Yep.
My odds go way up of at least starting the conversation.
Correct. Your odds go way up, and the other way you could get to me is through my network. And I build a lot of my network and things like these.
Right.
Network of vendors that I've met, network of other operators that we've met. Believe it or not, we actually do all talk and share great stories and share people.
Yep.
There's a vendor here this week or this session that is just observing. And I've already been able to introduce them to at least 5 operators that I think both would benefit from that relationship. So they're definitely in because they've already gotten benefit from the sessions.
Yeah.
I think that's how we're supposed to do it. We need to share our relationships, and it helps me build a bigger network. And if there's ever an issue or concern I have, I know I can pick up the phone and say, have you ever done this before, and help me, because I don't know who to look for in that.
So I really like hearing that. I probably do anywhere from 5 to 20 mutual introductions of people, and a lot of times I'll meet somebody, and then I'll meet somebody else, and I'll say, those guys really ought to talk to each other, and I'll just send it out. And it doesn't have anything to do with me, but I just think that relationships are key to everything. So I really like that. So besides the vendor stuff, we mostly talked about it. Just sort of give me your general impressions about the conference and what else you like.
I like the format and the setting. I like the fact that it's smaller because I can fundamentally just about talk to everybody that's here, whether it's for 5 minutes or for 50 minutes if I choose to.
Right.
It opens me up to a lot of different ideas and different scenarios and different networking opportunities that you just don't get in the larger conferences because it's just chaos.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm jamming in 500 sessions and trying to go to all these things in 14 different rooms. And here, it's all right here. You were within 100 steps from where you want to go for everything that you want to do. Right. And I think that's really important because then the time, you don't feel like you're wasting time.
Yep.
If you need to jump out and jump on a phone call, you jump out and jump on a phone call and you come back in.
Right back in.
No harm, no foul.
Yep.
The other thing that's interesting, and it kind of is a little bit humorous to me, is the Marcus Evans team and their headsets and making sure that people get to their meetings.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh, but I love that. I love the fact that they care enough to make sure that both sides are getting benefit from the session.
Yeah.
And that's really important because the first one that I ever came to, I had an emergency phone call and I missed a session. And they texted me, and then they called me, and I was like, sorry. And then we were able to rearrange so I could get the time and go back and get the meeting in.
Right.
And that is wonderful because then I didn't miss it, and nor did the vendor because it's unfair to them that they're coming here and not getting that opportunity.
That's right. Yeah. From the vendor, the solution provider's point of view, making sure those meetings get in is hugely important, and so. So what else should I be asking you about what you're doing in your organization, and what's the coolest thing you're doing? So I'm just shifting gears here.
I think the coolest thing that we're doing right now is really taking the discussion in assisted living and memory care from a real estate play to being about the individual, about the human being.
Okay.
The real estate's important. You have to have it.
Yep.
You have to have a building. You have to have land. But I believe that we should be focusing on making the life of that individual the best it can be. Whether that be providing them all the things that they've wanted to do or didn't want to do, check things off their bucket list, or if you go into the memory care side, finding those 5 minutes of clarity or those moments of smile or tear or hugs that really make that life at that moment for that resident important. If we warehouse them, we don't do that. And so it has to be about them and how important they are to us, because I say this all the time. These folks that we're taking care of, they built the country we benefit from.
Yeah.
They are the ones who fought the wars, who built the factories, who wives sacrificed. Everybody did, and it's kind of our turn to do that and to help them now.
Yep.
And what I see in it, the moment you start looking at the individual, it becomes a whole lot more fun. Because now there's a story that you're learning about them and how great they were and what they do now, and the moment that you sit down and listen to their story, how happy they are to tell it.
Yep.
And I tell my staff all the time, they don't really ever want a lot. They never ask for much. But that thing that you can do for them, whatever it is for them that's about them, that's worth a lifetime of fun for them. And it's amazing how a lot of folks miss that opportunity. And I see it as an opportunity.
Yep.
Every time I go into community and I have the opportunity, if you will, to spend time with a resident, I come away thinking I got way more out of that than they did.
You absolutely. So do you have like one favorite story that just encapsulates what you do, an encounter with a resident or a resident's family, or even a story about one of your team members and a resident?
Yeah, I mean, there are probably hundreds of great stories, but the one that sits in my mind the most was a circumstance, a community in Texas, a resident, huge baseball fan, huge Texas Rangers fan, really, really, really wanted to go to the Rangers game, but he truly couldn't. He wasn't able to go. So we reached out to the Texas Rangers. They sent their catcher to the community with a whole slew of players.
Wow.
Baseballs, shirts, the whole 9 yards, and in a sense watched the game, recreated the whole experience for him. And to see the smile on his face about that, and what we accidentally stepped into with the Rangers at that point in time is they vowed to continue to come back and work with that community every month, and they have, and it's fantastic because that's a moment.
It is a moment.
And wow, I was excited about it as he was.
Yeah.
So those things happen every day.
Yeah. Those.
And we miss, and the gentleman yesterday mentioned it, we miss telling that story. That's what we're about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forget about, catheters and incontinence and all the other stuff. We're about that.
Yeah. And I think that we had a presentation yesterday morning where we talked about how little what we offer appeals to the general public. And as we start telling those stories, all of a sudden it's like, I can hardly wait until I get to be 96 and I get to go have that same kind of experience, right? I don't know what it would be for me. Maybe it would be hockey or flying an airplane or something, right? So those are great stories. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, appreciate you doing the interview, and hopefully I'll get to come visit you someday.
Absolutely. That'll be great. Thank you.
Good. Thanks so much.
All right, appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.